Now, there are some flicks which reward close watching and reveal their meaning through repeat viewings, but some are just so complex and intentionally obtuse that you're better off simply enjoying the ride for what it is, a mental roller coaster with no clear answers. So with all that in mind, I am Gareth, this is What Culture, and here are 11 sci-fi movies that nobody understands. Number 11, Upstream Color. Directed by primer helmer Shane Carruth, 2013's Upstream Color manages to somehow outdo the director's earlier effort in terms of sheer strangeness. That is impressive. This is mostly due to the fact that we've been reliably informed that a sufficiently advanced understanding of physics and maths can conceivably make sense of Primer's complex internal machinations, whereas the stream of consciousness seen in Upstream Color has no such skeleton key hidden somewhere. Impossible to decipher, this hypnotic flick follows a man, a woman, and a whole bunch of pigs, as it tracks the journey of a possibly alien parasite? But that limited description barely even scratches the damn surface of this strange and strangely beautiful flick's layers. A complex maze of potential meanings designed to be pondered by film students for eons to come. I'm sure they'll have a ball. Number 10, Eraserhead. The first feature from King of Weird himself, David Lynch, Eraserhead still blows the director's later strange offerings out of the water in terms of sheer visual and oral oddity. Admittedly, the story of this one is actually a lot more straightforward than most of the Helmer's later efforts, such as Lost Highway, Twin Peaks, and Mulholland Drive. Here, a young man has a very odd baby, his wife leaves him, and a lady emerges from his radiator to save him. That's it. No trippy intersecting realities or out-of-order timelines, but trust me when I say that the uniquely disturbing design of this flick, from details as small as the mannered performances and strange hair and makeup, all the way through to the grotesque puppet design used for the baby, ensure that it is a nightmare pretty much impossible to make sense of, mainly because it's hard to actually watch the screen long enough to start deciphering. Try your best. Number 9, Southland Tales. The ambitious second feature. Donnie Darko director Richard Kelly was the toast of Hollywood after his moody teen sci-fi dramedy hit cinemas in 2002, and the world was watching to see his next move when his sophomore effort Southland Tales debuted at Cannes in 2005. Then came the feedback. Oh boy. Cluttered, impossible to understand, and overstuffed. Kelly's second film earned itself a place in bad film history, as it brought together The Rock's amnesiac movie star, Sarah Michelle Gellar's porn star love interest, and Sean William Scott as two versions of the same future cop, in a story depicting a post-World War III LA as a bizarre wasteland. That is a sentence right there. Surreal, silly, and often surprisingly satirically sharp. This flick was nonetheless summarily dismissed by critics, who admittedly rather accurately complained it was quite literally impossible to make any damn sense of. And while we're talking about Dwayne Johnson movies, I want to know, what is your favourite Dwayne Johnson movie of all time? Is it Southland Tales? Well, if it is, then put that in the comment section and I will look at it. Now back to the video. Number 8, Naked Lunch. If ever there was a book which could not be filmed, it'd be beat scribe William S. Burroughs' hallucinatory sort of biography, sort of confessional, sort of satirical detective novel, Naked Lunch. Lot of sort ofs going down over here. And if ever there were a director able to film the unfilmable, it'd be the auteur behind sci-fi horror masterpieces like The Brood and The Fly, right? So it came to pass that, in 1996, David Cronenberg endeavoured to translate Burroughs' drug-addled trip into his own shattered psyche onto film, and the resulting flick became a cult classic. Filled with unforgettable imagery and a surreal atmosphere, this film defies genre classification, let alone any kind of explanation, but it's nonetheless a funny, scary, and even occasionally somewhat poignant tribute to the singular voice of a deranged, inimitable genius. Number 7, Zardos. Come on now, they can't all be good films, can they? I mean, you may be a fan though, so you do you. Directed, somehow, by Deliverance and Point Blank helmer John Borman, 1974's Zardos is positive proof that the director should have probably stuck to simpler stories. And it's just as well the film proves this, because there's pretty much no way to work out whatever else it's supposed to say. The surreal tales of Eternals and Brutals. This flick follows a perpetually and understandably confused Sean Connery, as he tries to uncover the meaning behind the generations-long battle between the two groups, who act as obvious metaphors ideals for the ruling and working class, in a story whose dystopia is otherwise impossible to make any real sense of. There's the eponymous flying rock, an AI, some Beethoven, and eventually even a Wizard of Oz reference. But do not try to decipher it all. You'll be far too busy staring at Connery's distracting G-string anyway. There it is. Number 6. Stalker. Adapted from the novel Roadside Picnic, Stalker follows its three protagonists, the titular stalker, a depressed author, and a naive scientist, as they endeavour to explore a restricted zone thought to grant the wishes of its rare visitors. Intriguing stuff. What follows is an existential trip like no other, with director Andrei Tarkovsky borrowing from Beckett and Camus as well as the source material, as the trio encounter all manner of strangeness in what appears to be a post-nuclear, post-industrial, possibly post-reality wasteland. It's nigh on impossible to interpret in literal terms, but critics and scholars are still debating the film's metaphysical, political, and cultural themes decades later, mining deep allegorical meaning from this strange trip and its many odd and at times discomforting encounters. You're in for quite the ride. Thank you very much for checking out this video today, my friend, and if you're enjoying what you're watching, then hit that subscribe button down below for more of this what culture stuff in your life. Number 5. Extro. Finally, some justice for the much-hated video nasty list. Overzealous moral guardians throughout the easily offended UK may have banned half of the horror genre during the VHS boom of the 80s, but they could not keep this sci-fi horror mind fudge out of our hands for too long, could they? Not that the delayed release made Extro any easier to decipher, mind. Initially a gruesome alien clone, the film follows an amnesiac alien-man hybrid who returns from being abducted to find his wife and young son have moved on and moved in with a new man. Awkward stuff right there. What else is there to do in this gory remix of Castaway but for him to move in there too, I guess? Begin to exert some sort of alien influence over his son, and gradually possess the kid? Turn him into an alien too? Make his toys come to life and kill the neighbors? Yep, things get weird. The flick may not make much sense, but like all good nightmares, it can certainly leave an audience shook and scared by the time it reaches its violent, enigmatic conclusion. Number 4. Holy Motors. How do I begin describing French auteur Leos Carax's surreal sci-fi dramedy Holy Motors? A nightmarish trip through the mind of a deranged man? A day in the life of a versatile actor living in some strange dystopia? A vicious satire of the expectations thrown at us by society, and culture's demands that we fulfill preordained roles? Take your pick. Following an odd man as he acts out a day of surreal sequences which appear to be directed by various external forces, and include motion capture sex, a bank robbery, some sing-alongs, and a chimpanzee family, this flick defies any attempts at explanation but hits like a hammer to the gut. Alternately nightmarish and hilarious, Carax's film is certainly saying something about the state of our world, but good luck making any sense of the message. Number 3. Rubber. Directed by alternative music legend Quentin Dupieux, this strange desert-set sort of horror definite comedy follows a telekinetic sentient tire, which decides to start killing the denizens of a small outpost town. Oh, and the whole thing is aware it's a film in the weird meta sense, beginning with the actors acknowledging the audience and somehow managing to only grow more self-referential from there. That's just how this film rolls. Sorry. Rubber finds the thin, vaguely defined line between sci-fi, horror, comedy, and cartoons, before gleefully skidding back and forth between genres, giddily grab-bagging elements of each category in order to produce a singularly surreal satire, which must be seen to be believed. Should you choose to sit through it though, have fun trying to make any sense of the film's logic-free plot and bizarre characters. Number 2. Waking Life. So, this entry is so obscure and experimental that I actually pause for a moment before referring to School of Rock Helmer Richard Linklater's 2001 effort as a sci-fi. Now, it's not that the film doesn't tread genre territory frequently, and fairly well, to be honest. The various unexplained moments where our unnamed protagonist, played by the director's muse, Wiley Wiggins, floats off into the sky ensure that this flick takes place well outside our reality. But the film is so offbeat and strange that the phrase sci-fi, like fantasy, or even the much maligned art house doesn't begin to encapsulate the rotoscoped flick's bizarre, winding sort of story, wherein the nominal hero wanders through life slipping between reality and dreams without warning, whilst discussing life, the universe, and just everything, man. Far out. Number 1. God Told Me To. Directed by cult horror icon Larry Cohen of Q the Winged Serpent fame, this 1976 oddity is a far stranger offering than his usual sci-fi satire hybrids, and defies any attempts to follow its bizarre, winding story. The titular phrase is uttered first by a sniper offing random civilians in New York, and eventually by our hero, an NYC cop whose investigations into this shooting and a subsequent series of unprecedented mass attacks uncovers a hermaphroditic alien Jesus substitute who is actually the protagonist's sibling, with both of them being born of the same mysterious light orb, and who wants to use a cult to take over Earth, only for their fellow alien man hybrid, who is our hero, remember, to instead stab him, thus saving the world from... Is anyone honestly still following what I'm saying? Perfect. If you've got any idea what's going on in this demented film, then please do inform me ASAP. My mind is absolutely cooked just from that attempt at a description. I'm gonna need to lie down now, so that's the end of the video. Have fun.